Hey everyone! So I'm going to wait just a couple of seconds and then I'm going to go ahead and get started. Tonight I expect this to be a fairly short video. It could be maybe 20 minutes. So hang tight. 1 second. Okay, so today's video is the July one where I said that I was going to be talking about some of my favorite internet sellers of pre-made borders, die cuts, paper piercings, and everything like that. Hey Stacy. So I have a list of Facebook groups, of websites, different things that I will make in a separate post after I'm done with the video that will link you to each of the people that I'm going to talk about tonight. And I have bought so many of these, I honestly don't always remember what I bought from who. So I'm just going to talk about them in groupings. And then you'll be able to go to the individual sites and you'll be able to take a look and see who kind of has what. There's a couple folks that I do know what they do, and then there's a couple that I can't exactly remember. There are two people primarily that I buy most of these from, and then there's another couple of actual websites that I'll buy from, and then there's a couple of other folks that I will randomly see on Facebook, and when I see them I'll look at their albums and see what I want. So what am I talking about when I am talking about kind of the pre-made, pre-designed die cuts, titles, borders, and paper piercings? So what I'm talking about are things like this. This is one that I got in that I have not yet put into an album, and I'll show you how I store these as well. So you can tell it's just basically, this is titles, and it has a one sheet backing that is the same dimensions of the words that are grouped, and then just expanded a little bit to give you kind of that, sort of like it almost mats it. So this is one of the things that I have. I can also talk about things that you might get from Paper Wizard and other companies as well, which sometimes I've talked about straight up die cuts, which are more like what this is, where it's really, it's not as complicated, it's just a cutout, and you might have a couple things that are added to it. This is something a little bit more Paper Wizard that again will have multiple layers. So here you can tell it's got a black backing with a white border, and then the words are in green. So those are a couple things. There's also borders. Now we have the Border Maker system, and we can make some of our own, which I'll just kind of show you one attempt from me that I've made here. It'll be for something that will come up in one of my, as I call it, our time albums, so for my husband and myself. So this literally was a large sheet of paper using one of our punches on the Border Maker system, and went down each side. So I had actually trimmed the paper first, and then punched one side, took it out, punched the other. And then in the center, I used the same punch, again, on a lighter pink twice, and then on the red again. So I put the two lighter ones, backed them up to each other, and then covered that here so you can't really see the seam. So little, layering tends to be one of the main things that designates a lot of what I'm talking about tonight. So a lot of this tends to be words, but I'm going to start with some of the things that I know comes from Dawn, as well as some of the other more less fancy items. Hey Yvonne! So this is kind of a less fancy thing. So this is something that if you have the old hexagon style punch that you could make yourself, because it's really just that punched out in cardstock. It's the same punch in red, and then you just put a border strip on it, and it's as simple as that. Those come from the sticker packs. You know, they're the 12-inch. Always one of those sheets of ours has the 12-inch borders. Then you can get a little bit more fancy with something like this. That's a Deck the Halls. And this happens to, again, just be a very long border strip with using the border punch. And then you just cut out some gold, and then you actually do one of the standalone vines. And then you can kind of decorate it with the embossed bow. You can put some pearls on there. And then this is also something that gets made. Typically, words like this will get made using, it could be a Brothers Scan and Cut. Typically, it's probably more likely it's a Silhouette or a Cricut. So just wanted to kind of show that. There's a couple other of these. You can often find some words. This is from a company called Scrapaloo. They're in Michigan. And so this is just says grandmother. So it could be just the words itself. That's the most simplest version of a die cut. This was from Crop Paper Scissors. They tend to be at the Scrapbook Expos. So this was, I think I've got the chicken pox. And again, this one is layered. You can tell it has the brown backing and then the letters. And then what they did was they actually took one of the I think they're called crop dials. They've got the little tiny hole punches. And in order to make the effect of chicken pox, they actually just punched through the actual word chicken pox. So that was kind of a neat effect. So something just to keep in mind, that you don't always have to just stick with what you have there. You can layer onto it like that. I had never even thought of that. In fact, when I bought this, I didn't even realize, I saw the holes and I just didn't even think of it. It wasn't until I was preparing for this video that I realized what those holes were and what you could do with that. So again, just another version of some pre-cut made borders. Now I have the Boredom Breaker system. I have all of our punches, but like most people, I'm busy. Some folks may think they're not creative. Other folks may just not have time. So I tend to be someone who loves to support folks who are already doing this. So if it can save me time and it just costs a couple of bucks plus shipping, I usually tend to buy in bulk. So when I buy, I might actually have a $70 order, but I'm getting maybe 15 to 20, 25 items for that, and that includes the shipping for it. So I'll just kind of talk a little bit about that as I go here. Lastly, this is just one more that I'm going to talk about quickly here. This was actually using some of our Rolling Hills punches, the Starry Night punch in the background, and then literally just putting a strip, and who doesn't have scraps, but I just put a scrap behind it, so that's how you get the gold star effect. So moving on from those type of things, there are a bunch of others that you can do. So just to give you some ideas, like this says 1, 2, 3 smile. So that's kind of like replicating a Polaroid. I already showed you the laugh out loud. I am an online gamer, and so I do actually play a game called EverQuest, and I'm reconverting a lot of those photos, and there's some that I have not, from conferences, conventions that I've attended over the years, many years ago, that I've never even scrapped yet. So I actually found somebody, her name is Kira, and she's probably the #1 person I've bought the most things from. If you see all of these albums here, there's actually 5 of them, and I'll show how thick they are. These are all completely filled with this type of die cut. They're not filled typically with the 12-inch borders, because just to show you these books, they are by Queen & Company. They don't actually, they're not 12-inch size. So there's only so much that I can put in them. So I have them broken out by themes. But examples here. Hey Terry, hey Melanie. So this is an example of some of the things that I've had her do for all of us ladies. I'm sure we've probably all either have been to a scrapbook retreat or we've wanted to. I've bought things for my sister-in-law's album for Catitude. Different things like pool party. This can get fancy because you can tell here each one of these, this is actually a triple backing, so it's got the kind of Victorian blue backing behind it, and then a lighter blue, and then the same Victorian blue. Each of these are different cutouts and such, so there definitely takes a lot of time to do these, and like I said, I'd rather support somebody because I don't have time to even get all the scrapbooking done that I want personally, and it's probably the way a lot of people feel. And that's why last year I focused these videos a lot on techniques and tips. This year I'm focusing a little bit on different, like I've done 3 months of different organizational products and companies, and then last month I did the different companies that I buy layouts from. And so this was the last part of that. Next month I go back to actually showing technique. But for now, there is a new person that I started buying something from. She doesn't actually do this full-time, but she's kind of found herself doing it more and more as requests have come in. So I've kind of helped her a little bit in terms of what I have seen from others and everything. So she actually helped me, and a lot of these folks will do this in custom colors for you, which is one of the things I like buying from a person versus buying from an online website company, because they create it, you buy what it is exactly, whereas the online people will work with you. So I've got, you know, sort of the graduation class of junior, freshman, sophomore, senior I've got here as well. And so I was able to get these customized to my high school colors. So that's one nice thing about working with some of these folks that actually do this, and they raise money. A lot of them, they may have kids, so this is kind of their stay-at-home money because they would rather be at home when their kids are young. They're lucky enough to be able to do that, or they're doing it on the interim while they actually try to look for a full-time job, because it is a great way to make a little bit of money here and there. I know I mentioned somebody named Dawn that does these type of borders, and she was actually able to send her daughter, she did sort of like the Lord of the Rings style dancing, and she was a competitive. She was a young girl, but she was kind of doing it competitively, and they were able to pay for her costumes and her trip to one of the conferences that she was in, just for making these and folks like me buying them. So what else did I want to actually show? I did want to just show you some other ideas of what can be made from this. So as I said, there's 5 albums here. You can actually see behind me I've got these same albums in green, pink, and blue, and each one of those has different things in it. I've talked about most of them in prior videos. The orange ones happen to have all of these kind of, some folks will call them paper piercings. I always kept thinking of them as die cuts. So there's definitely a few different words you can use for them. So this one, this album, is sort of my, and again, these are from Queen & Company, as are the refill pages, which I will say they come in a 2-slot. They also come in full size, where it's a single sheet, which, okay, here we go, a single sheet. They also come in a 4-slot. Now, I don't buy any of these that are the size for a 4-slot, but I do have them up in the blue books because those are the ones that hold all of my bling embellishments. And if you know Queen & Company, you get them and it's like 2 inches tall or something. So the 4-slot pages work wonderful there, but they do have them in full page, 2-page, 2 and 4 in terms of the pockets. So this is all my scrapbooking things for scrapaholics and everything. Photos, you know, for photo bombing, love this photo. Grandparents, got some MFL things here because we're actually going to be going to a Packers game, which, while I live in Illinois, I was born in Wisconsin, so I just say my love of the Packers, it was injected into my DNA at birth. but it's been a bucket list to actually go up to Lambeau Field, and we're going to be going up in October. So vacation things are in here, different city things are in here. Some of these are very, very intricate. Arches. So this is kind of what I have for this album. And then there's actually, you can actually do like little images. And this is an idea why I wanted to go into details on these, because some of the folks will actually create like dolls of whatever country, like Holland or Canada or France, that you've actually been to. So they'll actually kind of set it up and sort of design it that way for you. There's a lot of Cricut images and a lot of other, I think Miss Katables or something. There's a lot of organizations that will actually do that for you, that you can buy those images and use them, you know, with permission. But I just wanted to share, we've got some home house stuff, so Home Sweet Home, fresh paint. I do have some Crop for Cause and different sort of cancer awareness and different awareness ribbons in here as well. So that was the first album. This one's definitely a little lighter. It's not quite as thick yet. This is, and it's not as thick because I've used a lot of them in here. This actually is specifically my dog and cats one. So I've had special requests, like I said, that they'll do. So I've got one for Willow. I've got one made that says pumpkin. And it's just all sorts of different phrases of doggone cute. There's bones. There's mom and her girls. There's dad and his girls. A dog's life. Little sister, big sister. Hey, Sherry. And then we get into, again, some of these images where folks will actually, you know, these are something that's not just phrases being made. It's actually designs of, in this case, it's a chipmunk or squirrel actually holding a nut in there. Hi, Susan. So you can use these, and I'll actually just show when I'm done with these, I'll show a couple of the pages of what I actually used them for. This says Crazy Cat Lady. So that's definitely my sister-in-law. If she could have 30 cats in her house, she most definitely would. She loves cats. So again, I've got one that's actually like calendar related, so it's got January all the way through, you know, through December. It's got also the occasions. So Halloween is in here. Thanksgiving is in here. Again, you can have images as well as just phrases. You can see here, this is one that I bought from Paper Wizard. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with these. And as I have so many here, but I also have so many photos. I mean, just to show you an idea, I have to whittle these down, but I think in the group I at least posted some of them. When I had gone to the Mix concert, Mix 80s tape concert, where there were 5 different artists, I have whittled those 600 photos down to this pile. So you can imagine that even that, if I cut this in half or use a third of it, that's a lot of pages. And even though I'm going to use some of our templates, I'm going to use some Leah France stencils to combine a lot of photos onto one page, I'm still going to be able to take advantage of a lot of, you know, these kind of, as again, die cuts, the paper piercings and such. So the 4th album is just kind of miscellaneous. It has some birthday things in it. It has some kind of sort of family-oriented, so brother, cousins. There's grandparents here. That one's really cute, especially because, you know, if any of you still have grandparents alive, treasure them. It's like I'm almost 50 and I have a almost 94-year-old grandmother alive, and so that's pretty cool. When I was in high school, I still had great-grandparents alive, and you just don't realize how precious that is. So I definitely wanted to get a bunch of these and make sure that I take photographs of them because, you know, they're not going to be around forever. And the last album here of these this really was the miscellaneous, because I've got some school days things in here, because I am redoing some of those albums. I love the 80s. There's some gaming things, garden, movie night. And then again, here's some of these images for what I was talking about, different people that you can do. So there's so much out there that if you want to do these yourself, you can. And if you don't want to do them yourself, you don't have to. There's people who will make these for you. Typically, one of the links that I'm going to give you, she does some titles and she also does some of these images. They're not, I don't think they're quite as complicated images, but she just asks for $1.50 each. And then she does have $3.90 for shipping. So I mean, that's about as reasonable as you can get. I know Dawn with some of her borders and things, like this one was $7. Hers are probably in the $5 to $7 range, but they are 12-inch strips. You can also cut them in half and actually use them on 4 layouts, not just 2. Hers can be anywhere from $2.50 up to $5 or $5.50 a piece, depending on how complex they are. And one of the things I didn't say, because I was going through this a little quickly, and I can't seem to spot one right now, but a lot of folks will actually ink the edges of every one of those matte layers. And that takes time because I have done a lot of inking. Hey Sherry, Susan, and Pam. So without further ado, let me actually show you what this looks like on pages, just so you can get a sense of sizing, because you do have to have a little bit of space for these. So I'm gonna pull out our dog album #1 that if you watched the other video, you know, you've seen this. This is the new kind of spine foiling that Creative Memories will do for you on their albums. You buy a new spine. You don't send in your old one. So you buy a new spine in one of the available colors and then put on it what you want. So let me just quickly flip here. It's going to be in the back half. So I have, okay, so here's a couple. These were just some outdoor snow photos, so this is one that I bought from Kira, most likely. This is another one. That's one of the kind of doggone goods. Or doggone cute in that case. And then here's actually, as I said, I had some personally made. And then this one over here, that big bone. So those are just a couple there, and I'll just show you from one other album. Now, the question is that in here? Yes. Okay. So these were hiking trips that we had done. And so this Hitting the Trail was one. So that's kind of a smaller one. That's probably about 3 inches in diameter, maybe a little more, maybe 4 inches. This is one, and I'm going to stand up for this. So there's a Wisconsin actual word die cut down here. And then this was a full strip border that I bought that somebody had made with the cars on the road. And what I did for this was I put one border on the top of a page and one border on the bottom of the next page. So that also shows you just a couple samples of what you can actually do with them. And I think that was all I wanted to show you on that. I'm just double checking to see if there's anything else. And it doesn't actually look like it. I only wanted to pull out a couple albums because I've got them all over the place. So really, that's kind of what I wanted to go over. I just wanted to share the different styles Again, for anybody coming late, you can get everything from simple words, that all it is just the word cut out itself, to layered things. And I'll just say, if you use, I think it's a crocodile, you can punch the little holes in it. So this had said, I think I've got the chicken pox, and so to kind of create that chicken pox image, they punched holes in it. You can use the border maker system if you have it, and you can actually replicate this, not this part, not the deck of the halls, but you can actually replicate this 12-inch border with everything that you have. And then you can also get more simpler things that are like this. This is what you might think of, you know, sort of as the pre-made die cuts. You might also think of the entire page where you are, and stuff is falling all over the place here. Hold on. You might also be thinking of where the entire page is just a very thin die cut, and the expos have lots of those. And then you just put photos behind it. So that's technically die cuts as well. I was focusing more on a little bit more of the elaborate things. Again, like this, like this one here, this 1, 2, 3 smile. So that's really what I wanted to go over. Feel free to go ahead and watch this back, because it's only about a half-hour video. I am going to post the names. I did talk about Kathy, I talked about Dawn, I talked about Kira, and there's another person that I want to just double check her name, but I'll include all of their links to where you can look for the stuff yourself and see if there's anything of interest. Scrapbooks.com, Scrap Your Trip, as I said, Paper Wizard, Scrap-a-Doo, Scrap-a-Loo, Crop Paper Scissors. Those are some of the website companies that I showed you. Different things that I've bought. So really, that's what I wanted to say about this video. I did want to give you an update that I now have a business trip that's scheduled at the same time the August video was going to happen. So it was going to happen August 27th. I do have to pick a new date, so I just have to take a look at that. And then that one will be back to Techniques. I'll actually be pulling out my Mink, which is a heat transfer machine, and using Decofoil and some of the other foils. And I'll actually kind of work on creating a couple things live on camera with you. It's super easy to use, it doesn't take very long, and they make some gorgeous items. So as soon as I have a new date for that, it probably will be the 3rd week of August instead of the 4th week. But once I get that completely squared away, I will post it on the website, and I will also update this image and repost it, just in case anybody has printed this out, because it is, I think, still pinned to the top of the group. So I will swap that out for the proper image. And just as a quick reminder, other things that we have coming up are, there's going to be some card making ideas one month. Don't laugh at me, but I am going to try to do something on the Cricut. It's going to be very basic because I am still learning, but I will do something paper-based and I will do something vinyl-based. I am going to talk about our pre-designed pages that Creative Memories has. And in December is wide open for you guys to give me ideas of what you'd want to see. It could be redoing a video that maybe I did last year that you missed. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to go look at what I've done before. You can just provide topics. And in November, I will actually post to get ideas from you guys on what you want to see for the last month of the year. So that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about, and giving you a reminder of what's coming up for the rest of the year. And with that, I'm going to say good night, everyone. Bye.